Yep, and you can start whenever you like.
Hello, everybody. This is Alan Davidson, and welcome to our third Google Hangout, which is Enlightened Tapping and embodying your soul purpose and tapping your unique self. And I am thrilled to be with you tonight. So if you can see me and our fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful panel, would you just enter a little something in the chat box saying, hey, you're here and that you're ready to play with us?
Hey.
Hey. And John, when you get the streaming part down and give me the go-ahead, then we'll launch right into our program this evening. But I just want to say a special thank you to the people on our panel, extraordinarily successful and talented and busy people who've taken the time out to be with us this evening. And equally to those of you in our viewing audience, there's 1,001 things you could be doing in your life, and you chose to be with us here. So thank you as well.
Well, we're looking good. Ready to go whenever you are, Alan.
Okay, great. All right, so welcome to embodying your soul purpose and tapping your evolutionary unique self. And that's going to make a little more sense to you as we move through the program. John, the next slide, please. And you're in the right place this evening if you have an itch that you know that there is something else that's available to you. If you know that there's something more that you could be doing, but you haven't quite cracked the code on it, you haven't quite been able to scratch that itch, that you haven't been able to figure it out with all the workshops that you've done and the courses that you've done and the study that you've done and the prayer and the meditation, all that you've done, you still feel like there's something a little more. And I believe this evening that we're going to be able to scratch that itch and help you. You're also in the right place. John, the next slide, please.
Sure.
And if you have a rigorous spiritual practice, if you already meditate, if you are actively seeking enlightenment, if you study the mystical texts or the mystical traditions all over the world, or perhaps like myself in a 12-step program, you're also looking for a spiritual solution, and you're ready to take your spiritual practice to the next level, you're going to see and experience something this evening that will help you do that. So who am I and why should you care? I'm Alan Davidson. I'm your co-host this evening. I am the author of the award-winning Body Brilliance. It was the #1 health and wellness bestseller. It reached #7 in Barnes & Noble's top 100 books and went on to win 2 National Book of the Year awards when it came out. But things were not always, the next slide, John. And the next slide. And the next slide. I have to remember they're not moving with you, so so things were not always so fabulous.
You are fabulous. Look at you. Oh.
These were the pictures the Huffington Post chose to use in my article when they spotlighted the Enlightened Tapping, and they loved. They said the Ex-Meth Junkie, drag queen, and bartender to the fabulous was the best headline that they'd ever seen. So of course I lifted it.
No.
But I moved to Houston in 1980 to become bartender to the fabulous, and moving to Houston was one of those realizations that, John Kabat-Zinn says, no matter where you go, there you are. Well, in 1980, it was no matter where you go, your problems are going to follow you unless you do something about them. And I was already an IV drug user at that time. And I went right. I tried to get my act together on my own, and I hadn't, and I went right back into the fast lane, and I saw many flashing highs and crashing lows, and there was a lot to love about that life, but there was a lot of pain that went with that. And when we first realized that HIV/AIDS was caused by a virus, I just assumed that I would die a very painful and lonely death, as I had seen so many of my friends already die, because I had shared syringes with men who had already died from AIDS. But I happened to live with an MD, and he was a specialist in AIDS, and he kept saying, Alan, I think you might be negative. You're just too healthy. And after 6 months of hearing that litany, Alan, I think you really might be negative. You are just too healthy. I had gotten clean and sober at that point in 1988, and went and got my first test. And I remember sitting in that clinic and getting the news that I was and still am HIV negative, and just knowing that the gods, goddess, God, universe, wisdom, whatever you choose to call it, had placed their hands on my shoulder. I had played Russian roulette with my life, and I had been spared. And when I left the clinic that day, I didn't know what I had been spared for, but I knew that I could not squander my talents or my gifts anymore, and I made a vow to get my act together and use those talents and gifts and make a difference in my community, which was suffering at that time so much. Next slide there, John. And I did use the 12-step program to help me get clean and sober and stay clean and sober. But I had a love-hate relationship with meditation starting in 1977, when I first understood that there was a world that existed far beyond what I knew lived in rural Texas. And by 1988, when I got to the 12 steps, the 12 steps says, through the practice of meditation. But meditation was hard for me. I was a speed freak. And I was used to going 90 miles an hour and busy, and I didn't have time to slow down. Our slogan was burn the mattress and unplug the refrigerator. Who needs them? And, and so the thought of sitting still and meditating is like, oh my gosh, I came face to face with my monkey mind and all the unresolved things that I had been stuffing down in my life and in my body. Next slide, John. But from that practice and sticking with it and knowing that there was a spiritual solution that would lead me to a more extraordinary life, I have now midwifed this weird meditation called Enlightened Tapping meditation. And the promise is that in 30 minutes, everyone on this hangout will have an enlightened experience. It's the same experience that Dalai Lama has when he sits in daily meditation. Now, does that sound like a bold promise to you?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And would you like to experience the exquisite stillness that His Holiness experiences in his daily meditation?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. And for those of you in the chat watching, if you would like to experience that same exquisite stillness, then just enter a comment in the little chat box there for us. Next slide, John. So for the next 60 minutes, I'm going to give you absolutely everything that I can. We're going to do a full demonstration, and we're going to actually connect you not only to your enlightened self, but to your evolutionary unique self, and that's a part of you that knows your soul purpose and what you could be doing to embody that soul purpose in this lifetime. So that's two really bold promises. So how does that sound to you?
Fabulous.
Great. Fantastic.
Terrific.
Great. And then, from that, for those of you, there will be an invitation to go deeper if you want to study this work some more. But, I think at that point, it'll be an extraordinary experience for all of us here. So thank you. Next slide, John. So what is enlightenment? We hear, I want to set the stage for what I predict you're going to experience first, but there's a lot of confusion about what is enlightenment. In the Eastern tradition, for 3,000 years, they've been writing and teaching and talking about enlightenment. And in the Western tradition, the last 300, 400 years was the period of enlightenment, and that what gave birth to the Declaration of Independence and what we call democracy and the Age of Reason was called the Enlightenment of the West. But I want to focus on the enlightenment of the East and show you how they come together. Next slide, John. In the classical sense of enlightenment, in the Eastern monasteries, in the spiritual traditions of India and China and Korea and Japan, and that's Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, the understanding is that we walk around with this ego or personality or our monkey mind, our thinking mind, and that Zen says that our enlightenment is already always there. We just have to be able to shift into it. But the only way to do that was to cross this amazing Grand Canyon of consciousness. It's a huge shift to be able to do that. Next slide, John. And so when we're able to make that shift, there are a couple of qualities that you will experience and you will actually sense in your body and in your consciousness. And first and foremost, there's a transcendence of the self. All of those preferences and desires and sort of limitations and edges and defenses that you live with day in and day out, there's that sense of going way beyond those. There's a sense of being infinite and being beyond time and space. That sense of infinity, eternity, emptiness. And for some people, you'll be able to experience the non-attachment. That often comes a little bit more with the practice. But it is that sense of that pure witness of being able to just be present with what is and not attached to it. Next slide there, John. In the old paradigm of enlightenment, you would find a teacher. Most often you would either spend a lot of time in a monastery or in a retreat, and you would sit. And you would often, for years, have to sit before you would have an actual enlightened experience. And because of the evolution of consciousness, the evolution of humanity, we now have several techniques that will actually allow you to experience enlightenment in 30 or 40 minutes, which is really amazing. Next slide, John. And so let's dive into some enlightened tapping. Next slide. The way this works for people who are new, this is the third Google Hangout, so I'm going to do a mini introduction here. We've gone deeper into different aspects of this in our previous events. But it's based on the Carl Jung, the great psychoanalyst who was a collaborator with Freud, said that we had different parts within us, or different voices or subpersonalities. He called them archetypes. And people like Fritz Perls, the founder of Gestalt therapy, would go on to do a lot of work with it. NLP does a lot of work around parts, voice dialogue. The next slide, John. Talks about voices. There being voices, and you can communicate with those voices. And I'm going to tell you a little story. This picture is Maezumi Roshi, who was the founder of the LA Zen Center. And a couple of our guests here are in LA and probably know about the LA Zen Center. But in the 80s, Maezumi realized that the Americans would do just fine in Zazen. They could sit in stillness. They could be really, really still. But there was something about the American personality. When they got up from that stillness, they would be assholes to each other, pardon my French. And that wasn't an issue in Japan. And so Maezumi happened to know of a Jungian analyst called Housestone and his wife Sidra, and they had developed this work called voice dialogue, that we have multiple parts within us, and we can communicate with those parts. We can have conversations with them and find out what are their fears, what are their concerns, what do they think the self should be doing to be safe and happy and connected. And it really did help the students at the Zen Center. Now, the person on the right is Genpo, and he would go on to be the very first American Zen master in the White Plum tradition. And he was there for that and witnessed what Halstone was able to do to help. And the seeds were planted, and at a certain point, Genpo thought, if we have all these voices inside our ego and our psyche, what about the enlightened voices that are already always there? Can we facilitate those? And he lived in Salt Lake City at the time, and he was actually working with a Mormon man who had lost his wife. And the man was really struggling. Why would God do this? Why would God do this? And Genpo was like, okay, let's just roll the dice and see what we get. And Genpo said, would you like to ask him? Let me speak to the voice of God. And the man was able to shift into the transcendent and actually speak to what he understood God to be. And it was that transcending the self, tapping into infinity, and the wisdom of witness consciousness. And Genpo was like, hot damn, this really works. And when it went on to create a body of work that he called Big Mind. The next slide there, John. And I studied with Genpo since 2006. I'm still a student of his and Diane Hamilton, his successor. And next slide. And since we have a couple of law of attraction teachers here, Bill Harris and James Arthur Ray both said that they felt the Big Mind meditation was the single most significant way to raise your vibration and change your state, because it gives you access to amazing qualities within yourself. Next slide. And then, being an avid student of Genpo's, I met Margaret Lynch, who many on our panel know and love so much. And Margaret is an EFT tapping person. And I was watching her at a live event facilitate shadow work for 160 people in a room, which I'd never seen done before. It was breathtaking to watch how she was guiding that many people through shadow work and tapping. And I just got this download of how to integrate all of my passions, all the things that I had learned and studied, all the major themes in my life into a body of work. And a big piece of that was to integrate the voice dialogue work with the Big Mind and the EFT tapping, which we're going to demonstrate in just a few minutes. And it's just been extraordinary what's become available from that. So next slide, John. And so the last two Hangouts, we really went from the personal self and we went beautifully to the no self. And in the first night, we explored the stillness of pure being, which is that quality that the Dalai Lama meditates in. In the second week, we really shifted and experienced the Divine Mother, the feminine quality of enlightenment. And so I'm going to up the ante. So tonight we're going to go to the no self, and then we're going to go to the apex of that pyramid to what is you could call, some people call the true self, but it's really the unique self. It's what integrates your ego and psyche and personality with all the aspects of your enlightened self. It's an amazing place of wisdom and power and freedom. And that work comes out of Mark Gaffney, who is a rabbi, and he's one of the leading experts in the Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of the Kabbalah, and that sense that we are co-creators with the universe, with evolution, and that if we have the vibrational balls to step into that part of ourselves, that it can be extraordinary. We can really be partners with the divine as equals And so that's my promise, is to give you that experience this evening. So when we leave our time together, you're going to be fully embodied in that energy and sense it and know it and be able to return to it anytime that you want to. So, sound good?
I can't wait to get some vibrational balls out, Ian.
Leave it to the Aussie to focus on the balls. Thank you, Natalie, darling. Yes. Okay. All right, John, the next slide, please. So here's how you do this process. I'm going to ask to speak to a voice, and you actually shift or move in your chair. In the old days, you'd actually move chairs, but you want to tease that out. So I'm going to start with the controller. It's always a great voice to start with. So move in your chair and imagine that your old psyche, your old personality has moved to another chair, and you are sitting fully present as the controller. And speak from the I voice. I am the controller, and that's the self over there, and I like to control everything. I'm a control freak, and I am really good at it. For those of you, I did ask you to bring something to write with. We use the voice dialogue process, classic voice dialogue. But for some people, they might find journaling with the voice a little easier. So you can do that if that feels better for you. I would say trust the process, because I might ask to speak to a voice, and you're going, I don't know what that means. But I invite you to shift. And what I love about this process, it's really deep listening. And when you tune in to a voice that you don't necessarily know what it is, it reveals itself to you. And so just listen deeply and trust what you're sensing and you're feeling. And you'll hear other people perhaps on the panel sharing. And if you feel lost, or you like everyone on the panel's, saying something about a voice, and you're going, I don't feel that at all. I'm missing something here. When we make that leap to across the Grand Canyon of consciousness, if you don't feel infinite, spacious vastness, then let me know. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. For those of you at home, you're going to hear the people on the panel interacting with me, but you're going to have your own experience. So I invite you to speak out loud. This is where you get to close the door. Imagine that we're all in a beautiful temple together, and that I can hear you and I can interact with you. And speaking out loud actually helps to embody that voice, to give it some clarity and some experience. So my husband always says, when I go off to my daily practice, you're going off to talk to yourself. See you later. So we have a bit of fun with it. So yeah. So and I am still a little embarrassed to go talking to myself with him around. I shut the door and I lock myself away. So do what you need to take care of yourself. I'm going to go ahead and do the tapping points now. The next slide, John. So I use the classic short form, which has been used for a number of years. For those of you that know Nick Ortner's book, The Tapping Solution, this is the short form that he used. We always start with the inside point, and I'm actually going to shift to me so you can see me. So the inside eye point here, the outside eye point here, the under eye point, this is zygomatic ridge right there. There's a notch right there. Under the nose, the chin point, and then right where your collarbone meets your breastplate, right there, there's a little notch where those two bones come together. It's usually pretty tender if you haven't, let me see there, you can see that a little better right there. And then the other one is not so glamorous, ladies, but about 4 inches underneath your armpit, straight down, and usually it is right on the rib, there's a lymphatic or a water point meridian, and that's a really good one on both sides. And then the top of the head.
Do you do both underarms at the same time?
I tend to do one at a time because it looks goofy. Of course, our friend Margaret Lynch says she doesn't do under the arms because it makes her boobs shake. So you guys do whatever you want.
It doesn't look any more goofy than the rest of it, so,
Well, thank you. Like I said, this is a fucking weird technique, but if you will just trust the process, you will experience an extraordinary shift. I do promise you that.
I'm willing to look goofy to get enlightened.
I mean, you know what's better than sitting in a cushion and fancy robes for days at a time? That's,
Right?
yeah. So, okay. All right. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're ready.
Okay. So I'm going to ask to speak to a voice. Shift in your chair. Please let me speak to the controller. And who am I speaking to?
I'm the controller.
Okay. Yeah, Lynn, you can wait just a minute. We're going to tap in just a minute, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay, now I need to hear from all of you. I happen to know each of you pretty well. And who am I speaking to?
I am the
controller.
controller.
I am the controller.
The controller.
Yeah, and what's your job?
To
control.
Control.
To control. Everything. Thank you. I was going for that. And so what are some of the things that you control?
my decisions.
My day.
Oh, okay.
People around me.
Okay. So now just her decisions. I help control her decisions. So we're sort of teasing out the self there. So excellent. Okay. Someone else?
I keep her safe.
I keep her safe. Excellent.
Try to control the environment around her.
I control the environment around her. Excellent.
I control her day.
I control her day. Excellent.
Yeah.
What are some of
I
the
try
other?
to control other people that interact with her.
I try to control other people that interact with her. How's that working, by the way?
Not very well.
Not very well, but as the controller, you keep trying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of Alan's favorite games is he tries to control the weather.
Ah!
Yeah. Doesn't work very well, but he, 56 years, he's still trying. So, So what are some of the other things that you control?
How she feels.
How she feels. Excellent. So the emotions. So you have a sense of the emotions that feel good and maybe the ones that don't, and you really try to control how she's responding and reacting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent.
I try to control Jan's weight.
Her weight. Okay.
Yes. Every day.
Every day. Her body, what she eats, what she doesn't eat.
When she exercises, when she doesn't.
She exercises. Yeah.
Sleep.
Fabulous. Sounds like you have a full-time job.
Oh, it's very busy.
Well, as the controller, do you get a day off?
Never.
No.
Rarely.
Never. So where would the self be without you?
Curled up in a ball in the corner.
Curled up in a ball in the corner. Excellent. Yes. Where would the
Well,
self...
Sorry, go ahead.
Where would the self be without you? So
Confused and lost.
Just
confused and lost. Yeah.
I think
A loser. Yeah. Well, Alan would probably still be wearing high heels and, dancing as fast as he possibly could,
I think the self feels that she would be lost, and the self feels that she wouldn't be safe. However, from the little glimmers of experience, when the controller has taken a backseat, the self feels totally freaking free. So it's an interesting dichotomy.
Right. Well, that's actually leads to the next question. So, you have an opinion about the self. What does the self think about you?
Not much.
Not much.
Too much control.
Too much control. Okay.
Yeah, the self feels that when the controller's in charge, it cuts off that connection to God.
Ah, so the self feels like the more the controller's in play, there's less connection to God.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Agreed.
And I bet the
I would,
self has an opinion about that.
And the self feels that the controller never quits talking, just incessant talking.
So an important part of that monkey mind, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Lynn, you were going to say something?
Well, I was right on with Natalie. Natalie said the self also feels like it cuts off the connection to um, the people around her and purpose and the juice of life.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the self feels like it turns the self into being rigid and ugly.
Uh-huh. 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 Okay, great. And so the controller, as you're listening to all these things that the self is saying, how does that feel?
Pretty unfair.
Unfair.
As a controller, I am here to make sure the self is safe.
Yeah.
And she would be dead without me by now.
Right. Right.
Probably.
So you feel like your number one job is to keep the self safe, and the self would probably be dead by now without you, and so you feel it's a little unfair, that judgment.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anyone
Yeah,
else?
I feel
I
a
think the
little
controller feels. Sorry. I think my controller feels misunderstood.
Yeah, exactly. Misunderstood. Okay. Jan?
I feel unappreciated.
Unappreciated. Okay, great.
I do a
Well,
lot of work.
yeah, you do a
All of
tremendous
my
amount of work for
gratitude.
the self. Let me say this. I see part of my job tonight is to introduce you to some allies that can actually help you do your job better and make it easier for you to do what you do. So to one, know that self is safe and that she's connected, and that she has a place to belong, and yet so you can sort of relax a little bit, and get some support in your day-to-day job. How does that sound?
Great.
Wonderful.
Great.
Brilliant.
Great.
Okay. So as the controller, would you say one of your important functions is controlling when all the other voices come out to play?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so you get to, you can go you, oh, not you. And not only when they get to come out to play, but sort of at what intensity they get to come out.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I want you just to really sense that into your body, because that's an important role that you play for the self. And so it would behoove me to get your permission to even move forward in asking to speak to any of these other voices.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to make it real simple. Do I have your permission to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. I'm also going to ask you to make two commitments. One, if you feel threatened at all for the self, that you'll let me know. Will you commit to that?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, great. And the other, and this is, you get to do what you do so well, control. When I ask to speak to another voice, to give me a crystal clear channel to that voice. And do your best to keep all the other voices quiet and still in the background.
Mm.
Yeah.
Will you do that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right, well, let's do a little tapping. So we're just going to tap with the controller, and then we'll take it from there. So I tend to go pretty quickly through the points. You take your time, you tap in any way that feels good to you. I'm not attached to that. Now, I do tend to do both sides because part of meditation is balancing right and left hemispheres of the brain and helping the brain go to deeper levels of relaxation. So I use both sides, but classic tapping is one side or the other. So whatever you're comfortable with, I'm fine with. Okay? So I'm the controller,
I'm the
I'm the
controller.
controller,
and I am in control,
And
and
I
I am in control,
and I am damn good at it.
And I am
and I am
damn good
damn
at
good
it.
at it.
I've had decades to practice.
I've
I've
had
had decades
decades
to
practice.
practice.
I control what she thinks,
I
I
control
control what she thinks,
what she feels.
I
what
control
she feels.
feels.
I control what she says.
I
I
control
control
what
what
she
she
says.
says.
I control what she does.
I
I
control
I
what she
control
does.
what she does.
I control everything I possibly can.
I
I
control
control
everything
everything
I
I
possibly
possibly can.
How she looks,
How she looks,
how people perceive her,
how
how
people
people perceive her,
the circumstances around her,
the
the
circumstances
circumstances around
circumstances
her,
around her,
how safe she feels,
how
how
safe
safe
she
she
feels.
feels.
the entire spectrum of emotions.
the
The
entire
entire spectrum of emotions.
And some of those emotions, I'm telling you,
and
Some of
those
those
emotions, I'm
emotions,
telling
I'm
you,
telling you,
they can be a little pesky,
they
they
can
can be a little
pesky.
pesky.
and they have been known to hijack the whole system.
And
And
they
they've
can
been
hijack
to hijack the whole system.
And I have to work to get back my control.
And I have to work to get back my
My
control.
control.
And then there's that monkey mind.
And
And
then
then
there's
there's
that monkey
the
mind.
The mind just spinning and spinning and spinning.
The
mind just spinning and spinning and spinning.
I am in control.
I
I
am
am
in control.
in control.
I control all those other voices.
I
I
control
control
all
all
those
those
other
voices.
voices.
The 10,000 voices of the separate self.
The
10,000
10,000 voices of the
voices
separate self.
All those aspects of the psyche.
All
All
those
those
aspects
aspects
of
of
the
the
psyche.
psyche.
I am in control.
I am
I
in
am
control.
in control.
And I give my permission to move forward this evening.
And
And
I
I
give
give
my
my
permission to
permission
move
to
forward
move
this evening.
forward this evening.
And I make a commitment.
And I make
And I
a
make a
commitment.
commitment.
If I feel the self is threatened in any way,
If I feel
If I feel
the
the
self
self
is
is
threatened in any
threatened
way,
in any way,
I will step up and take control.
I will
I will
step
step
up
up and take control.
It's what I do.
It's what I do.
It's what I do.
And I make a second commitment.
and I make
And
a
I make a
second
second
commitment.
commitment.
I will give a crystal clear channel
I will
I will
give
give a crystal clear channel
to the other voices.
to the
to
other
the
voice.
other voices.
I am the controller.
I am
I am the controller.
And even though I'm misunderstood,
And even
Even
though
though
I'm
I'm
misunderstood,
misunderstood,
and the self is always saying mean things about me,
and the
and the
self is
self
always
is
saying mean
saying
things
mean
about me,
things about me,
and judging the job that I do for her,
and judging
and
the job
judging
that
the
I do
job
for
that I
her.
do for her.
I genuinely love the self.
I
I
genuinely
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 love the
love the
self.
self.
And I work 24/7
And
And I
I
work
And I work
24/7
24/7
to make sure she's safe
to
to
make
make
to make
sure
sure
she's
she's
safe
safe
and that she's connected to people who love and appreciate her,
and that she's
and that she's
connected to
connected
people
to
who
people
love
who
and
love and
appreciate her,
appreciate her,
and that she finds a place to belong.
and
and
that
that she finds a place to belong.
That's what I do, what I do.
that's
That's
why
what
I
I
do
do,
what I
what I
do.
do.
And I'm the controller.
And
And I'm the controller.
And I'm open to meeting some allies
And I'm open to meeting some allies
to help me do my job better,
to help me do my job better.
because I genuinely do love the self.
because
Because I genuinely do love the self.
I'm the controller.
I'm
I'm the controller.
And shake that out.
Ah.
If you want a drink of water, that's good. Yawning is good. And just take a moment, close your eyes, and just sort of settle in and listen deeply. For those of you at home, thank you for tapping with us. And as the controller, after that tapping, what do you sense? What do you notice?
Quiet.
Quiet?
Acceptance and love.
Acceptance and love. Beautiful.
Relaxed.
Relaxed.
Yep, relaxed and surrender.
Relaxed and surrendering. Beautiful. Beautiful.
I don't have to work so hard.
I don't have to work so hard. Yes. All right, great, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm going to ask to speak to another voice. Let me speak to the one who seeks the way. Shifting in your chairs. And who am I speaking to?
The one who
The
seeks
one
the
who
way.
seeks the way.
The one who seeks the way. And what are you seeking?
Connection.
Connection.
Love.
Love.
My dreams.
My dreams.
Or her dreams, sorry. Her dreams.
Her dreams. Yeah.
Peacefulness.
Peacefulness.
The way for me to contribute and make a difference.
The way for her to contribute and make a difference. Beautiful. What else are you seeking?
Connection and love.
Connection and love.
Integration and acceptance.
Integration is and acceptance. Beautiful. Now, we have all these beautiful sacred things you're seeking, but let me, have we completely forgotten the profane here? I mean, how about a little hot sex, ladies? Are we seeking, any hot sex at all?
Me.
Tantric union.
Ecstatic joy, yes. And if not hot sex, then there's always chocolate, So, yeah, I like yes, this particularly for people like everyone on this panel has been very sophisticated spiritual practice for decades, really. So yes, it's normal to go to freedom and truth and peace and love and connection, but let's not forget some of those other desires that help give meaning to our life. I'm reminded that the goddess Lakshmi is also about beautiful, delicious meals and experiences and golden sunsets, as much as enlightenment.
I'll just take some hot sex, please.
Thank you. Fabulous. I'll have hot sex and enlightenment.
Yeah.
Together. And there's many bodies of work about that, but that's another workshop, my dear. So yeah, that's a whole nother hangout. As the one who seeks the way, you've been around in the self for a long time, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can pinpoint when the moment I woke up in Alan, and it was in 1977 when he read the book Illusions by Richard Bach, and he realized, there's this whole other world that exists outside of what he knew about rural Texas and the Baptist church that he grew up in. So can you have a sense of when you started to wake up in the self?
Yes.
Will you say that again, Alan?
Do you have a sense of when you started to wake up within the self?
Yes, I was in my 20s and I read a book called The Celestine Prophecy. And it stirred something in me that I had no idea existed.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I feel I woke up when she was in elementary school because she was exposed to it through mom and her environment, and she loved it and ate it up and just wanted to learn and seek the way and was hungry for it.
Right.
Especially to help deal with those times.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah. Lucky you.
Yeah.
So so we've been seeking a long time, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
Yes.
Now let me ask you this. As the one who seeks the way, is it your job to find?
No.
It feels like it.
It feels like it, but let me ask you this. How often do you find?
Layers of finding.
There's layers of finding, okay. And let me ask, so if you find something, let me ask, how long does it last?
Not long, because my job is to seek.
That's right. It's not. It's like I'm on to the next thing. It's like, oh, honey, that was good. Okay, next.
Yes.
Yeah. So and I want you to really sense where do you feel yourself in the body?
In the here, and whatever you call that, solar plexus.
Is that solar plexus? Okay, great.
Or gut, or whatever that's called.
Yeah. Okay.
I felt it in the soles of my feet.
Soles of my feet. Okay.
I feel it behind my eyes, like
Behind
a
my
different way of
eyes.
seeing.
Okay, a different way of seeing, looking for a different way of seeing. Yeah. Okay. It's always just good to ask, where do you sense these voices in the body? Where are they localized? And do they radiate out in different ways? Yeah.
Yeah, mine's always front of mind, up here.
Yeah, kind of. Now, is it sort of within the face and the skull, or is it actually even a little bit forward?
No, it feels here. Like just here, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. All right. So let's do some tapping, okay? I am the one who seeks the way.
I am the one who seeks the way.
And I have been seeking a long time.
And I've
been seeking a long time.
20, 30, 40, 50 years.
20, 30, 40, 50 years.
I am seeking the way.
I am seeking the way.
I seek the good, the true, the beautiful.
I
seek the good,
true, the beautiful.
I seek freedom.
I seek freedom.
And fabulous sex.
And
fabulous sex.
And enlightenment.
And enlightenment.
I seek truth.
I seek truth.
I seek the end of suffering.
I seek the end of suffering.
And I have looked under many stones.
And I have looked under many stones.
Many books.
Many books.
Tapes. Workshops. Retreats and seminars. Studied with many great teachers. Because my job is to seek and to seek and to seek.
Because my job is to seek and to seek and to seek.
Seeking, seeking, seeking.
Seeking, seeking.
I bring a lot of energy to the self.
I bring a lot of energy to the self.
I mean, look at all the groovy things she's experienced because of me.
Look at all the groovy things she's experienced because of me.
And all the fabulous people we've met along the way.
And all the fabulous people we've met along the way.
Present company included.
Present company included.
The self gets a lot of juice from me.
The self gets a lot of juice from me.
All the things she knows.
All the things she knows.
All the things she's learned.
All the things she's learned.
All the deep spiritual insights.
All the deep spiritual insights.
I am the one who seeks the way.
I am the one who seeks the way.
But it's somebody else's job to find.
But it's somebody else's job to find.
We may have flashes of experience.
We may have flashes of experience.
But it doesn't last. Because we are off to the next thing.
Because we're off to the next thing.
And there's so many good things to find.
And there's so many good things to find.
Seeking, seeking, seeking.
Seeking.
I am the one who seeks the way.
I am the one who seeks the way.
All right, and take a breath, shake that out.
Woo.
And now just Take a drink of water, take a breath, look inside yourself, let your body settle. And what do you sense? What do you notice?
Gosh, a wave of relaxation and peace. Like,
Wave of relaxation and peace. Beautiful.
And acceptance. That it's
And
okay that this is my job.
Yeah, it's my job. It's what I do.
Yeah, acknowledgement.
Yeah, what else do you sense?
I feel appreciated by the self.
I feel appreciated by the self. I mean, you really bring a lot to the self, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the self's identity is what you have brought to her in these last 10, 20 years for sure. Darden, do we have any comments from people watching?
We have one. Kai said, ready to play. And so moving on to the next voices. And everyone else seems to be enjoying the moment.
Okay, great. All right. Well, feel free to enter something into the chat box that you'd like to share. All right. Well, now there's a drum roll. Are you ready to make that leap across the Grand Canyon of consciousness and savor what the Dalai Lama does in his daily meditation?
oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. All right. Please let me speak to the stillness of pure being and shifting. And who am I speaking to?
The stillness of pure
being.
Okay, and I want you to tap with me. I am the stillness of pure being.
I am
the stillness of pure being.
I am infinite emptiness.
I
am
infinite
emptiness.
I am eternal nothingness.
I am eternal
nothingness.
I am vast spaciousness.
I
am vast spaciousness.
I am beyond the beyond.
I am
beyond.
I am beyond all beginnings.
I am beyond all beginnings.
I am beyond all endings.
I am beyond all endings.
I transcend all beginnings.
I transcend all beginnings.
I transcend all birth.
I transcend all birth.
And I transcend all death.
And
I transcend all death.
I transcend all borders and boundaries.
I transcend all borders and boundaries.
I am infinite emptiness.
I am infinite emptiness.
I am exquisite stillness.
I am exquisite stillness.
I am the field of pure potentiality.
I am the field of pure potentiality.
Which gives birth to nothing.
Which gives birth to nothing.
And I am the great paradox.
And I am
the great paradox.
Because I also give birth to all things.
Because I also
give birth to all things.
I am the nothingness that gives birth to nothingness.
I am
the nothingness that gives birth to nothingness.
And I am the nothingness that gives birth to all the created universes.
And I
am the nothingness that gives birth to all the created universes.
To galaxies.
To galaxies.
To solar systems.
To solar
systems.
To stars.
To stars.
To planets.
To planets.
To bodies.
To bodies.
To beings.
To beings.
I am the stillness at the heart of all movement.
I am the stillness at the heart of all movement.
All things arise within me.
All things arise within me.
And all things disappear within me.
and
all things disappear within me,
leaving infinite nothingness,
leaving infinite nothingness,
eternal emptiness,
eternal
emptiness,
vast spaciousness.
vast
spaciousness.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am exquisite stillness.
I am exquisite stillness.
And shake that out. And now you can place your hand on your heart if you like, or you can just completely relax and just really listening with each rising and falling of your breath. And to each exhale, stretching into infinite emptiness. Beyond your body. Each exhale, beyond your heart. Each falling away, beyond your mind. Each breath, beyond your being, to infinite stillness. Just surrender to stillness. What do you sense? What do you notice?
I suddenly felt my dad, who died when I was 11, and could just so feel the love and connection to him, which has sometimes been hard because it was troubled times with him, but I loved him anyway. And it felt like just getting to experience the pure love of him without all the other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And thus pure love for myself and being really present to the moment.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, really, can you just feel into all this loving for your dad, for yourself, and can you, in that loving, feel how infinite it is, beyond all bodies, beyond all personality?
Yeah.
Just feel that this loving is the actual fabric of the universe.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. What else do you sense? What else do you notice?
I notice I'm like just thought, but without a body, just thought and complete comprehension and understanding.
Yeah, so completely transcending the body, and yet there's this thought, this complete comprehension and understanding. Could we say another word for that is just pure awareness?
Yes.
An infinite quality of awareness. In classic enlightenment, this is Buddha mind. And Lynn, what you're sensing is the Divine Mother, that infinite loving. So that beautiful yin and yang qualities, even in enlightenment, you know, that pure awareness and pure love.
I sense the pure magic of just being, like the space between lives, the kind of floating, just strong presence of knowing.
I love that space between lives, that space between anything and everything and yet that pure sense of knowing. Yeah.
I really felt and heard the ocean. Just, I'm still hearing it, just continuous waves, and then it was just, I was all of it. I was every drop, I was every wave, I was every...
Well, and what I love is you live in the high desert, and yet, you're immersed in the ocean and sensing and the waves of energy, the waves of consciousness. Well, for those of you watching at home, what are you sensing? What are you feeling?
I think everyone is blissed out at the moment. We don't have any new comments.
Okay, great, fine. Well, I would love to linger here, and we could spend hours in this ecstatic energy, but I promised you. So this is the first big wow. This is that enlightened experience of infinity, openness, vastness, transcending the self. So you get a sense of that. So we've delivered on our first promise. So now you're ready to make that bold leap to, if we have the personal self here and the no self here, can we go to the apex where we transcend, include, and integrate all aspects of consciousness? Willing to make a leap? Okay.
Yes.
So please allow me to speak to the evolutionary, unique self. And who am I speaking to?
The evolutionary unique self.
And tap with me. I am the evolutionary, unique self.
I am the evolutionary unique self.
I transcend, include, and integrate
I transcend, include, and integrate
the 10,000 voices of the separate self.
the 10,000 voices of the separate self.
The controller and the protector.
The controller and
the protector.
The voice of desire and the one who seeks the way.
the voice of desire
and the one who seeks the way.
The wounded self and the innocent and vulnerable child.
The wounded
self
and the
innocent, vulnerable child.
I transcend, include, and integrate
I transcend, include, and integrate
all the 10,000 voices of the enlightened self.
all the 10,000 voices of the enlightened self.
The stillness of pure being.
the stillness of pure being.
The divine mother.
The divine mother.
The divine father.
The divine father.
Big mind.
Big mind.
Big heart.
Big heart.
I am the unique self.
I am the unique self.
Fully integrated.
Fully integrated.
Fully enlightened.
Fully enlightened.
Fully embodied.
Fully
embodied.
Fully present.
fully present.
I am skillful means.
I am
skillful means.
I am the witness.
I am the witness.
I am unconditional love.
I
am unconditional love.
I am wisdom,
I am wisdom.
arising in every moment.
Arising in every moment.
I am the dance of pure awareness
I am the pure awareness.
with compassion and love.
With compassion and love.
I am fully present,
I am fully present.
breath to breath,
breath to
Breath to breath.
moment to moment.
Moment to moment.
I am present in this immediate space,
I am present in this immediate space.
and yet I transcend all borders and boundaries.
and yet
I
I transcend all borders and boundaries.
boundaries.
I sense myself opening to infinity
I
I
sense
sense
myself
myself
opening
opening to infinity.
And yet I'm fully present in this moment.
And yet I'm
And yet I'm fully present in this moment.
I skillfully weave the Emperor's energy
I
I
skillfully
skillfully weave the Emperor's energy,
the energy of the ancient Chinese masters,
the
the
energy
the
of the
energy of ancient Chinese masters,
the 256 vibrations
the
the
256
256
vibrations
vibrations
of color, light, sound, and temperature,
of
of
color,
color,
light,
light,
sound, and
sound, and
temperature,
temperature,
of texture, light, and vibration.
of
of
texture,
texture,
light,
light, and vibration.
vibration.
I weave tapestries
I
I
weave
weave
tapestries
tapestries
of pure embodied presence
of
of
pure
pure
embodied
embodied
presence
presence
and fully intentional futures.
and
and
fully
fully
intentional futures.
intentional futures.
I weave tapestries of immortality
I
I
weave
weave
I weave
tapestries
tapestries
of
of
immortality,
immortality,
vibrant health and well-being,
vibrant health
vibrant
and
health
well-being,
and well-being,
grace, strength, and flexibility,
grace,
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 strength,
strength,
and
strength,
and
flexibility.
and
flexibility.
flexibility.
every breath bringing greater health and vitality.
Every
Every
breath
breath
brings
brings
greater health
greater
and vitality.
health and vitality.
I weave tapestries of deep intimacy,
I
I weave
weave
I weave
tapestries
tapestries
of
of
deep
deep
intimacy,
intimacy,
sexual ecstasy,
sexual
sexual
ecstasy,
ecstasy,
heartfelt connection,
heartfelt
heartfelt connection,
deep listening,
deep
deep
listening,
listening,
intentional relationships in all facets of my life.
intentional
intentional
relationships, all
relationships in
facets
all
of my
intent,
facets
life.
of my life.
And I weave tapestries
And I
And I
weave
weave
tapestries
and I weave
tapestries
tapestry.
of embodied soul purpose,
of
of
embodied soul
embodied
purpose,
Soul
soul
purpose,
purpose,
lives brimming with meaning,
lives brimming
lives
with
brimming,
meaning,
brimming with meaning,
lives of work and service,
lives of work
lives
and
of
service,
work and service,
and the ease of wealth building.
and
and
the
the
and the
ease of
ease
wealth
of wealth
building.
building.
I am skillful means.
I
I
am
I am
skillful
skillful
means.
means.
I am the evolutionary unique self.
I
I
am
I
am the
am the
evolutionary
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 unique
self.
unique
self.
self.
I have full access to all the wisdom that's ever been
I
I
have
have
I have
full
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 access to
access to
all the
all the
access
wisdom
wisdom
to
that's
that's
ever
ever
wisdom
been,
been
that's ever been,
and all the wisdom that ever will be.
and
and
all the
all
all
the
the
wisdom that ever
wisdom that
will
wisdom
be.
ever
that
will
ever will
be.
be.
I have full access to the Akashic records.
I have
I
full
have full
access to the
access to
Akashic
Akashic
the
records.
Akashic records.
I am a co-creator with all reality.
I am a
I am a
co-creator with all
Co-creator with
reality.
all
reality.
reality.
I am Homo universalis.
I am
I am
Homo
Homo
universalis.
universalis.
I take my place as a citizen of the universe,
I
I
take
I
my
take
take
my
my
place
place
as a
place
as
as a
a
citizen of the
citizen of the
citizen of the
universe,
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 as a steward of this world,
of a
as a
steward
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 of
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 this
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 world,
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 and a steward of all the created universes.
and a
and a
and a
steward of
steward of
steward of
all the
all the
all
created
the
created
created
universes.
universes.
And I embrace the ecstatic joy of co-creation.
And I
And
I
I
embrace the
embrace the
embrace
ecstatic
ecstatic
the
joy of
joy of
ecstatic
joyful
creation.
joy of
creation.
creation.
And I have been present since the beginning and ending of time.
And
And
I
I
have
I have
been
been
have
present
been
present since
present
since
the
the
from the
beginning
beginning
and
beginning
and
and
ending of
ending
ending
of
of
time.
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 And I have been present with this soul through every incarnation.
And
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 I
I
I
have
have
been
been
have
present
present
been
with
with
this
this
present with this
soul
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 through
through
every
every
incarnation.
incarnation.
and every
And I
incarnation.
have access to the highest universal good.
And
And
I
have
access the
access to the highest universal good.
the universe.
I am the evolutionary unique self.
I am the evolutionary unique self.
And I am fabulous.
And
I
I am
fabulous.
fabulous.
And shake that out. So what do you sense? What do you feel, ladies?
Joy.
I feel alive.
Joy. I feel alive. This is the point, ladies and gentlemen, where I say my nipples are spinning. It's one of my trademarks. It's a short step, Natalie, to ecstatic sex from here.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something about my balls vibrating, but I won't.
Your evolutionary balls, fabulous.
Balls, yes.
All right. Well, we'll make that another Oprah. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. So, really, where do you sense yourself in the body?
I feel like in every cell, it's just vibrating and going outward. It's not one central place, but everywhere.
I agree.
Yeah. Can you sense that quality of infinity, that you can really just see how porous reality is and how it just stretches?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Like time as we know it is not applicable.
Right. Time as we know it is not applicable, and you're absolutely right. And yet you're also immediately present in the minute, in this moment.
Yeah.
It's a delicious sensation, isn't it?
Wonderful.
Yeah. How about that monkey mind?
What monkey mind?
What monkey, what mind?
She's quiet.
She's quiet, yes. Yeah. So I invite you from this amazing space of wisdom to ask this part of yourself, what is my sole purpose in this incarnation? And just listen deep for that answer that you get. And if you want to grab your pen and take a note or a couple notes, that's perfectly fine.
What is my sole purpose for this incarnation?
Mm-hmm.
To bring life. To
bring life.
Be fully alive and help others be fully alive, to really bring life.
Uh-huh. To be fully alive and to help others be fully alive. Bring life.
I'll bring aliveness. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And now you can really sense that in every cell of your body.
Woo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To serve with joy and love.
To serve with joy and love. Beautiful.
Yes.
For me, I feel it's to show women a better way.
Show women a better way.
Yeah. How we can move forward in our feminine. From our feminine.
Yeah.
And to bring the planet forward in a new way.
Mm-hmm. So something about, really embodying and expressing that feminine, even the divine feminine, in a new way that helps all women bring the world forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyone else?
I got to heal the hurts.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Heal the hurts. There's a lot of suffering in this world still. Yeah, we did a lot with that last time with the Divine Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone else? My sole purpose is to embody wisdom.
Mm.
So So I'm going to ask one more question while you're in this exquisite state. What practice, regular practice, could the self be doing to embody and make alive 24/7 this soul purpose? So ask the question and then just listen deeply for the answer.
I got mine right away.
Yes, ma'am. What is
It
yours?
surprised me, actually. It said drink much more water, have lots more water. I also got meditate. So daily meditate, maybe even do this kind of tapping a lot more so I can be in this state to receive. Not just while I'm going through my moments, but really having this dedicated time like this.
Beautiful.
I got 2 clear words, which were check in. Just check in.
Yeah, I think Ram Dass wrote a book about that called "Be Here Now."
Oh yeah,
And, yeah. Or Byron Katie, "Love What Is." You know, they're saying the same things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine said nothing. Slow down.
Yes, nothing.
What did the body do? Nothing.
Beautiful. Well, Lynn, you're going to love this. The first time I did this exercise, the answer shocked me. It said right every day. But when just now I did it, the wisdom said sing. And if you were to hear my singing voice, you would know what a stretch that is. I can give you an ohm that will rattle the rafters, but singing is not one of my strong suits. So I might need to come to you for some coaching.
Brilliant.
So, anyone else? What regular practice could you be doing?
Relax more, do less.
Relax more, do less. Is there a way to make that, and for you too, Natalie, do more of nothing? Is there a way to make that specific and measurable?
Have more fun. That was also part of it.
Yeah, have more fun, do less.
Yeah, or be still.
Be still. Yeah.
I would probably dance more.
Dance more. Well, good. Darn, do we have anything from the people at home?
Kai said, thank you, love to everyone.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Well, let's land the plane, shall we?
Yeah.
Please let me speak to the controller. And who am I speaking to?
The controller.
I'm the controller.
What a ride, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for taking control for a bit.
Yeah. You feel like you got a little bit of a break there?
Absolutely. Felt like vacation.
Vacation. And do you feel like you met some voices that could actually help you do your job better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that have, say, access to the infinite that that could really help you when you're sort of feeling in the crunch of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was that conversation about, regular practices the self could do to sort of embody this soul purpose and sort of this evolutionary, unique self. So as a controller, would you be willing to help the self to create a regular practice for the self to do that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Beautiful. So I invite you, sometime in the next 12 hours just to write some notes of ways that you could support the self in embodying this, because as the controller, you're essential to any regular practice.
Yes.
So, well, as we end, I just want to say to you, the controller, that thank you for the amazing work that you do and for getting the self to this point in their life. Because I know it's amazing, and that you've had to work diligently and hard. So I appreciate you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feels nice to be appreciated.
Yes, yes, it does. And what I know about this work is the voices, particularly the voices of the personal self or the separate self, they really have a chance to grow and evolve the more you work with them and tap with them and give them the space to just to be and create that container with the enlightened voices and the unique self to for them to mature. So, Darden, you usually have something to say about that.
Yes, my instructions were to talk to my voice of joy. And so I'm going to be doing a daily practice with more voices.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
they do change over time, and they do mature and grow, and it's kind of amazing to check in and see how they're different each time.
Yeah, the next slide actually, John, if you want to go full screen, and the next slide actually, it's like, how do you do this at home? And, the simple thing is really just to remember we get focused on our separate selves. And we get caught in our own concerns and, spin, 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 seek, 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 do, do, do. And just remember that there's a whole nother part of us that is already always enlightened. And we just have to shift and to tap. And, you can do this standing in line. You can do it at the red light in your car. You can do it standing in line at the dry cleaners. There's a simple way of tapping on the edge of your fingernail, of all your major fingers with your thumb. Use your thumb. And so, yeah, beautiful, Lynn. Yeah. And, so like if you're in a place, you're in a restaurant, you can just put your hand, or you're in a meeting, you can put your hand under the desk and just tap. You can anchor, you shift into any of these voices and just anchor them in with a little bit of tapping. The next slide there, John. So I want to close our presentation with what I call my big why, and I know that everybody that you can see in this panel has an extraordinary big whys. I know Natalie has just finished a program with impoverished children and their families in Guatemala, and was it 50,000 families you've helped?
Yeah, so it's in Colombia, and we're donating 10,000 accounts to work specifically with underprivileged children.
Yeah. And I know Lynn has done amazing work with refugees from Sudan and helping the suffering that's there. So, everyone on this panel, Jan just today was filming videos to help impoverished people learn to beekeep and to be responsible for their own income and their own health and their own wealth through beekeeping. So, I'm so blessed to be with people who have such a high level of meaning and purpose in their lives. As I look at my big why do I do what I do? It's easy to I read the New York Times every day, and I know a lot of spiritual people say, oh, don't read the news, it'll bring you down. But I think it's important for me anyway to understand what's really going on in the world and what are the challenges that so many conscious beings are facing in the world. And when you look at all the different crises, is it the pollution and the destruction of our environment? John, the next slide. Is it the loss of our amazing resources like the Amazon, or the indigenous people who are losing their tribal integrity, their languages, their way of living, that's just disappearing? The next slide, John. The chronic poverty that faces the world today, and just, you hear about the haves and the have-nots and how that gap is just getting wider and wider, not only in America, but in the whole world. And the next slide, John. And the lack of safety and education and democratic rights across the world, especially for women. The picture on the left is the group of girls who were kidnapped in Central Africa simply because they were at school and they wanted an education. or the Malala, the beautiful example of the young girl from Afghanistan who wanted an education, and then she was shot in the head and left for dead because of that. But not only for women, but so many minorities. It's not looking much better for homosexuals in a lot of places in the world right now, Africa and Russia and China. Next slide, John. And I mentioned the 1980s, and I remember what it was like in the AIDS epidemic to the President of the United States never mentioned HIV or AIDS until almost 10 years into the epidemic. And when he did mention it, he mentioned it once and said that we're going to fund this. And what he actually did with the next year's budget is cut and slashed funding for HIV/AIDS. And then there were the ministers, the evangelical ministers who were basically saying the queers, put them in concentration camps and let them all die off. They get what they deserve. And so there was that sense of my own government and not even feeling safe in my own country. And that's when the gay community realized we're in this mostly by ourselves. Fortunately, our lesbian friends and a lot of our women friends really stood up and helped us. And next slide, John. So my big why is realizing that the common denominator of all of those things that I just talked about, as important as they are, it's actually the lack of human development that supports this, the ignorance and the confusion that allows us to treat each other inhumanely, that destroys the earth, that allows women and girls to be treated so poorly. And so there are a number of ways to look at how you measure development, in Maslow is just one of the simplest, most well-known hierarchy of needs, working up to self-actualization. Next slide, John. And I love this quote from Albert Einstein: no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So we're being called upon as human beings to solve the problems facing ourselves and our own day-to-day lives, but in our countries and our cultures and in our world. And we have to tap into a higher level of consciousness. That's why I think practices like Big Mind or Enlightened Tapping are so essential, because it allows us to shift into the highest functioning capacity that we have and to look on our problems with a very different perspective. The next slide, John. So my big why is to raise the 10% of the world's consciousness to the level of embodied enlightenment. Now, Ken Wilber, the founder of Integral Theory, says that that's somewhere between 3 and 5% right now. But if we were to get 10% of the world's population to experience on a regular basis what you experienced in this seminar this evening, it would begin to tilt the consciousness of the world. I remember David Hawkins, in his book Power versus Force, said basically that one person vibrating at the level of enlightenment will offset, I believe it's 20,000 people still functioning at a vibration of fear. So imagine one person living at the energy that we experienced this evening would be able to offset so much fear in the world. And that's why this work around enlightenment is so important to me. The next slide, John. Now, if you think 10% of the world's population is a lot, you're right. But it's only, we're at 7-point-something billion human beings in the planet. So 10% of that is 742 million, which is actually right at the population of Europe. So I'm a big believer, and it's like, let's make this sort of piecemeal and measurable. So, could we take, the light beings that people are doing all over the conscious world, in Hong Kong, in China, in Australia, in New Zealand, in India, in Europe, in the United States, in South America, North America, all of us together vibrating at our absolute evolutionary unique selves could easily embody this energy and make a tremendous difference. And I believe in the next 50 years. And that's within most of our lifetimes. I think everyone on this panel will live to see that. Next slide, John. So my question to you is, if not you, who? And if not now, when? So one of the ways, next slide, John. The good news is evolutionary enlightenment is available. You've just experienced a technique. You can, get exactly what you need from this evening, and the door has been opened for the stillness of pure being and the evolutionary unique self. You have a sensory memory in your body. It's there. The door's open. You can go back over and over and over. No question about it. Now, here is the good news, is that it takes practice. Several people mentioned what regular practice do they need. Well, meditation, or coming back to this sense and vibration over and over and over. It takes practice to live in a still body with a quiet mind and an open heart. And we just have to embrace these energies over and over and come back and come back and come back until they literally are embodied. So you've gotten a taste this evening, and you see how easy it is to reach these exalted ways of being, but we all need help and support. So next slide, John. So that's really what I just want to say for you. You've had an experience. The door's been opened for you, and for those of you that came for an experience, you've had it. Great. And I'm thrilled to have been a part of facilitating that for you. And that ends sort of the free part of our training. And I do have an invitation for those that might want to go deeper. Next slide, John. But before, I just want to mention Barbara Marks Hubbard. I had the great opportunity to facilitate this process in her living room in January of this year. And she was the first woman to run for Vice President of the United States. And she's the great futurist and an evolutionary writer and speaker. And when she experienced the enlightened tapping, after a few minutes of being in the voice of Homo co-creator, she jumped up and said, "Oh my God, I've been writing and teaching about this for over 20 years. This is the first time I've ever experienced it from the inside out." And then proceeded to have this entire new download from this perspective and a revelation for her. And so she said that we need massive tapping, massive enlightened tapping to make this species-wide conscious shift for evolution. Next slide, John. So the transformation that you get with investing in the Enlightened Tapping program tonight is access to the divine at your fingertips. You really will get the practice of how easy it is to move in and out of these voices and to tap with them, and they really become embodied. What I love about the tapping is that it anchors it into your energy field, and it also anchors it into the connective tissues of your body. It's a sensory, physical experience. You can always go back there. You'll get to meet and know the many facets of your unique self, and you allow the voices of the separate self to begin to relax and to mature. And then one of the great pieces of this work is that you turn your saboteurs into allies. You just saw how your controller actually met some allies and began to relax and let go and have a little more spaciousness for itself. Next slide there, John. So my Enlightened Tapping home study course is 6 modules. The first 3 modules are focused. Now every module you get to experience the separate self, the no self, and you go to the apex voice. So every single module you get this full-on experience similar to what we've had this evening. But in the first 3 modules we focus on the voices of the separate self, the controller and the protector and the innocent and vulnerable child. And the warning here is that to get to the innocent, vulnerable child, you have to work with the wounded self or the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle talks about it. And then the final three modules, there's the focus on the Divine Father, the stillness of pure being, which we worked with tonight. There's a full program on the Divine Mother. And then the sixth module are the actual 5 stages of enlightenment. And that's an extraordinary standalone experience by itself. And with that, you get, it's a digital, 100% digital online. You get the videos, the audios, and then a downloadable workbook in PDF. It's 250 pages, transcripts of all the tapping that you get. Next slide, John. In addition to the home study course, you get bonuses. You get 6 live calls, just like we've done tonight with the Hangout, of me tapping and working. And one of the advantages of working live with me is that, you know, some people probably listening in the audience weren't able to make the full shift to enlightenment. Some of the voices of the separate self like to stick. And there's a way with very easy facilitation that most people will be able to make the shift. So working with me live, you get to experience that. Next, John, there we go. The next bonus is we're going to have 3 days in Houston, enlightened tapping meditation in the fall. We're still working out the details on the dates, but most of you on the panel know my friend Tristan Truscott is going to present a program, and he's going to lead Qigong every day. And then also my friend Helen Terry, who's a Nia teacher, is going to present and then teach Nia every day. So this is really about not only working with the enlightened voices, but how do we embody them into our physical and energetic form. Next slide, John. This is one of the things that I'm most proud about, is we took all the voices from the home study course, all the major voices, from the separate self, the no self, enlightened self, to the unique self, and we just took the tapping bits and then we spliced 5 minutes of silent meditation. So you have full access to this, you know, and you can create your own playlist. Any of the voices of the separate self you want to tap with, any of the enlightened voices, any of the apex pyramid of consciousness voices, you have them. So the next slide there. And then as an extra bonus, you get an actual physical copy, my printed book mailed to you, of Body Brilliance, Mastering Your 5 Vital Intelligences. And next slide, John. And then there's a Facebook, Google group of, there's over 50 people now who are in the group, all enlightened tappers who are using this practice. Next slide there, John. So the normal cost of the program is $497. Tonight's investment, $197. And John, have you already popped in the offer for us? The sale price is good through this Monday, March the 30th, and you can click the button there on the bottom right, or you can go to enlightentedtappingmeditation.com/yes and invest for yourself. Okay, next slide there, John. And you get my triple guarantee. You know, there's always the 30-day, no questions asked. You know, and I promise you'll get your full enlightened experience through the home study course. You know, if you do not have a full enlightened experience with this work, then I promise you'll get your money back. And you know, get on the calls with me. Come to the live event. If you do not have an enlightened experience, I promise you I will refund your money. I want you to have that. And next slide, John. And here's a beautiful Sheila, who's on our panel. And what I love about this, and she shares her story about being in the 12-step program, that she had, you know, again, meditation is important. It's the 12th step. And she said she'd tried transcendental meditation, Vipassana, mindfulness, Kundalini, and none of them were able to help her. And in 20 minutes of enlightened tapping, she had that first enlightened experience and was able to let it go. So, Sheila, anything you want? Yeah, John, I'm trying to display the offer and it won't pop up. So yeah, darn if you can try that. But Sheila, go ahead, please. Yes.
It was the first time I did this with Alan. It was at a program that wasn't even focused. It was a business development program that he was leading, but started us all off every morning with this enlightened tapping. First morning, first day, I was just blown away because I really have tried and tried and tried and tried. And now I just use, whatever voices seem to be coming to me that day. And I'm just delighted, and I can get to that place of peacefulness. And for me, that's a really, really difficult job sometimes. But I can get to it very, very quickly now. And it's just, again, plugging into the different voices and really giving myself the permission to hear all of that and then integrate it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, John. The next slide, please. And then Margaret Lynch, she's just been an extraordinary supporter of this work and enlightened tapping. I presented the enlightened tapping to all of her platinum programs and at her live event in Boston a few weeks ago. I was there sharing every morning, and so she just raves about the work. So I'd like to unmute everybody and just hear from our panel, because I know we have very sophisticated spiritual teachers here, and if you would just like to say anything about what we've experienced. There we go. There's our add to cart button. Thank you guys for handling that for us. So any comments from you lovely ladies?
Yes, I'll start. I just love how you have it truly is an instant tapping into the gap. It's it felt for me like an instant tapping into that peaceful, grounded, connected space. Like you said, like being able to tap into what these monks may spend Lord knows how long being still till they finally find it by accident, if you will. But it was a beautiful, intentional way. And also I love how you, with such grace and ease in the way it's set up, that it allows us to be integrated and connected to these various sides of ourselves. Instead of making it wrong or feeling like we're going to make them go away or anything, it's like embracing it all, which really allows fully in the love and that connection and thus the aliveness. So I loved it. I can so see the value of this, because when you have that, you can think clearly about everything else. You can be able to step up fully into your purpose. You find your worth. I mean, it all stems from that core place. So this is like crucial work, and that you can make this available to us, I think is phenomenal.
Well, thank you. Jack Cornfield says that enlightenment is intimacy with all things. And the point that you talked about, some of the voices in the separate self, we have opinions, some are locked in the basement still because we've judged them as unacceptable or unflattering. And so this process gives us a way to work with all of those voices that have been judged and have been disowned and put into exile, and to reclaim them and listen to the wisdom that they've been trying to share all along, but with a way of them not acting out or acting covertly in a way that's hurtful to us and other people. So it takes having those enlightened voices and those integrative and embodied voices to create that space for those exiled children to come home and to find their rightful place in our heart. So it's a beautiful piece of this work that you just noticed and felt instinctively. So thank you.
Pleasure. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know for me, like I do have a practice of meditating on a fairly regular daily basis. But it takes me time to get there. And it takes time for my monkey mind to slow down. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And I think that with this process, especially with the tapping, it really helps for you to focus your mind just on the one thing, at the job at hand, at the purpose of the exercise that we're going through. And you achieve it in a much faster and easier way than I could ever possibly achieve just through meditating.
Right.
And the fact that I've acknowledged these other voices, and now can identify them and go, okay, well, this is control self. The control self, I'm going to be stepping into this, the infinite self now. And so I know how to quiet that mind now. I can acknowledge it and name it. And so now I have a really effective way of being able to get into that infinite heart, into that, infinite field of possibility, where we can tap into, get those, inspirational, intuitive ideas that can help us get to that next level, but do it in such a much faster way. Like, that is so much easier than sitting down and having to quiet my mind on a really busy day, to be able to get into that meditative state.
Right.
So easy.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I always start with the controller, and I tap with the controller, and you sort of, figure out how to do it, by watching and watching and listening and listening. And I always just tap with the controller for about 2 minutes, and then if there's something sort of emotionally heavy for me, then I'll tap with that voice too. But usually I just shift right into one of the enlightened voices, and then I can sit there and I can be in that energy. And whether I'm writing my affirmations, or I'm visualizing, or if I'm just being completely lost in absorption in the energy of one of those beautiful voices, it infuses everything for my practice and then through the rest of the day. So I do about 30 to 40 minutes of this every morning. So
Lovely.
What I enjoy about this, Alan, is one of the law of attraction teachers. I think you mentioned earlier that in one of the pitfalls of law of attraction is that we continue to attract the same thing over and over again, and we're always wondering, why is that? And so in the work that I teach, I always steer people to find a practice, some way to move that energy, the thing that is keeping you from attracting what you truly desire. And what I see about your work is it actually gives people multiple ways to do something on their own. One through a practice, one gives, one aspect is a tool, one is a practice, one is a meditation, and it's all wrapped into one. And it's also about healing those parts of ourselves that are keeping us stuck in those places that we just keep, playing the movie over and over again. When we relieved, I see that happening with our clientele. So I love what your work is all about, because it gives people access to something that may not have been possible before. And you put it in a whole kit and caboodle, I think, in a
right.
way that people can use for themselves. And I like that aspect of it, that you've packaged it in such a way that I could make daily use of it.
Mm-hmm. What I love about this sort of evolution of enlightenment, in the old paradigm, you found a guru and you found a teacher and you submitted and you surrendered to that teaching and the teacher. And in this new paradigm of enlightenment, it's really about finding your own inner authority and who you are as the master of your own life, and taking 100% responsibility for your own life. And so what are the practices that support you in that, so that you're not looking outside of yourself for approval or acceptance in anything, but you really come back to owning your own authority. And if you don't like what you're attracting, well, by golly, do something about it. Attract something different, which is, of course, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know. So, and I just want to say a special thank you to Jan, because Jan remembers when I met Genpo Roshi and started facilitating Big Mind, and she actually allowed me to facilitate at one of her retreats at Ojo Caliente in New Mexico.
Yes.
Back in 2007, I think it was. So
Something like that.
you've been supporting this work a very long time. So, and you've seen it go through the different evolutions. So, thank you so much. All right. Well, that's everything that I have. John, you want to change the slide again for me? So I just want to remind people that the website is enlightenedtappingmeditation.com/yes. We'll take you to the sales page and you can invest. You have until Monday night to take advantage of the, great discount, $300 discount on the price. So please join us. The first live call is April the 2nd. And so we're closing the cart on the Monday, so you have time to watch that first module. So you can come with your questions and you can come ready to experience, again, full on this pyramid of consciousness. And Nat, I wanted to tell you that my friend Karen Smith is a graduate of Jeffrey Fannin and Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's coming in April to Houston to do mind mapping on the enlightened tapping process, and we can get some brain scans to see what happens inside the brain when you work with the voices of the separate self, the enlightened self, and the unique self.
Wow, that is going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that work and how we can measure what different parts of the brain are activated when we're visualizing or when we're tapping or when we're, connected to that higher consciousness. So I am really interested to find out what you actually measure as she's doing that. It's going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Literally.
I'm thrilled. And so Houston is a hotbed of enlightened tappers because that's where I live. So we're going to get together with a group of people all day long and just measure people's different brains and just tap and tap and tap all day long. So.
Right.
So I just want to say thanks to our panel. I know that you're extraordinarily busy and successful, and you took the time to hang out with us for, almost 2 hours here. So it means the world to me. I appreciate your love and your support and your friendship, and thanks for demonstrating this work and this journey. And I just really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
I love you, Ellen. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Alan.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love
Yes.
you.
Happy
Fantastic.
to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.